What do you think is the best way to make and drink a cup of coffee?
Well, again, it's a matter of opinion.
In your opinion?
No, I don't think you can take my opinion. You see, my wife and I, we have discussions on this. I mean, the simplest way, of course, is the press pot. Right. But I don't like it because it doesn't suit what I personally like. I have to have a coffee which is very hot and clear. Now, press pot doesn't give you that. Mm-hmm. It tends to give you a muddy coffee, and invariably it's not very hot. But again, people like that. Mm-hmm. Fine, so that's one way of doing it. My wife, most of her coffee is done on a paper filter. But then again, you see, the problem with paper filters is so many of the machines you buy today have got a hot plate. Well, that's disaster. Never, ever buy one of those machines at all. The first cup is fine. The second cup, after 5 minutes, is abominable. Mm-hmm. So what we have a pot called a Mr. Coffee, which is a paper filter, but it goes into a thermos. So providing you put hot water in your thermos before you start on your coffee, and make your coffee into it, it'll keep hot for several hours. Now that's a very good way of doing it. Of course, you can go to the other extreme, the old Jamaican method, of course. And quite frankly, people say if they can't do it, it's the simplest way ever. Mm-hmm. Is you can either, you get your normal glazed pot container, put your coffee in the bottom, pour hot water on top of it, stir it, leave it, and pour it off after a few minutes. Right. And you're not going to get any better than that. Mm. The other way, of course, to go a little more sophisticated, is to use butter muslin. You can get some butter muslin and make your own coffee bag. Mm-hmm. Put it in, tie it up, and dunk it. Right. You know, these are very simple ways of getting coffee. Right. And so, so there's so many ways of doing it. And again, we have all these pots out there which we give demonstrations to people for how to make coffees. Right. But again, it's a matter of choice. But really, the paper filter is very good. Right. But the main thing is to get a good pot that puts it into a thermos. Do not please make it on top of a hot plate. Mm-hmm. And probably the most important thing in making coffee, after the coffee itself, is the water. Mm-hmm. If you put city water into your coffee, you will not get a good cup of coffee. Stop. Right. If you have to use city water, the very least you should do is to draw it overnight to get rid of the chlorine. Mm-hmm. But if you're spending money on my coffee, you ought to be able to go and spend it and buy some spring water. Or alternatively, catch rainwater. Mm-hmm. Or go and catch a spring water yourself. Unless you know where your city water comes from. Some cities are very good. Some cities are very good. Mm-hmm. But invariably, city water's got chlorine in it. Yes. Invariably. But real cuppers, the professional cuppers, when they travel around, they take their own water with them. Mm-hmm. Right. So they've always got the same thing they can judge the coffee by. Water is critical with the making of a good cup of coffee. And again, when you've had your coffee, it's made and it's poured out, the first thing is to smell it, run it under your nose, to the back of your throat, and then take a good sip into the back of your throat and taste it. When you do that, you can really appreciate your coffee.